Is it true water holds memory?
Absolutely. When we look at the research from people like Jacques Benveniste or Nobel Prize laureate Luc Montagnier, it seems that water has a matrix for holding imprints of information. Digital biology, where they're imprinting information into water, as well as the centuries-old practice of homeopathy. I think it deserves more funding and attention.
All right, guys. She came in from Oregon this morning, Dr. Catherineclinton. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Absolutely. You post some very interesting stuff online.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some incredible research coming out. It's exciting.
Yeah. What's the main thing you're really pushing these days?
I'm really looking at our electric body. You know, so many of us talk about the chemical nature of the body, but not many people talk about our electrical charge and our electrical body. I love to talk about this fourth phase of water in the body, this liquid crystal sort of antenna that we have in the body.
Yeah.
And I love talking about fascia, sort of this quantum communication network in the body.
Yeah, let's dive into all that. We'll start with the fascia stuff. So what is that for people watching this that don't know?
Absolutely. Fascia is this body-wide network throughout the body. It connects to every single structure in the body. And when I was in naturopathic medical school, it was that covering that we would remove in cadaver lab, like to get to the real organ. But actually, our fascia creates this body-wide communication network. And when you look at it, it creates these tubules, they're called tropocollagen nanotubules. And they are lined with this water on the inside and outside of them. And they are piezoelectric. So when you compress them with movement or massage or myofascial release, just like a quartz crystal, they create an electrical charge. So you have this amazing network that's propelling liquid, water, particles, and protons, this energy of proton conduction throughout our body, almost instantaneous communication.
Wow.
From our skin all the way down to our internal organs. It's incredible.
Yeah, that is cool. So what are some fascia exercises you do on a daily basis?
Well, we can do fascial maneuvers where we're stretching and using gentle movement like yoga or qigong. But something that a lot of people don't think about is earthing or grounding can be an incredible way to nurture our fascia, coming in contact with the earth and that electrical charge, those free electrons that are lining our earth actually are able to excite that fascial network and provide energy to our body.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. Aligning our circadian rhythm with the rhythm of the sun is another great way to nurture our fascia that has nothing to do with movement. So there's so many different ways we can approach fascial health.
Yeah, I will say on days I wake up with the sun, I feel better.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
sometimes I'll sleep into like 11 and it just doesn't feel the same.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was 2017 where 3 researchers were awarded the Nobel Prize for their work on chronobiology. And they discovered that almost every cell in our body has circadian clocks, meaning that all of our functions, our hormones, our inflammatory state, our immune system, cardiovascular, respiratory, digestive system, all of these things are triggered and stimulated and driven by our light environment. And when that is the natural rhythm of the sun, it's working at its optimal level.
Wow, I love that. So on the grounding side of things, because it's hard to find grass in Vegas, can you ground on other surfaces?
Absolutely. This morning I was grounding in the hotel pool.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Those in-ground pools are a wonderful way to connect you to that energy. And the water that's in them is conductive as well. So that's a great way to ground, especially in a place like Las Vegas.
Nice. I do have a pool out here. You need a pool out here. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, it's hot.
Totally.
Probably doesn't get this hot in Oregon, right?
No, it doesn't.
And Oregon probably has a ton of nature.
It does. It has wonderful beaches and mountains and lakes and rivers. It's an incredible place to ground. And when you're out in that environment, the wind through the trees picks up on negative ions. And that's another way to help power and support the body.
Wow, negative ions?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, these negative ions that are present in ocean spray or waterfalls or rain, or like I said, even wind going through the trees or the grass, pick up on these charged ions that support our nervous system, our mood, our immune system. It's an incredible free tool that we have for our health.
I can see that because when I go down the shore, something about the air just makes me feel amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's so different. Nice little beach resort in Mexico or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Wow.
incredible medicine
Yeah.
and free.
Air is dry out here though.
It sure is.
Yeah, I'm missing that out here. Is it Oregon or Oregon?
Oregon.
Okay. A lot of people say Oregon.
Yeah, they don't know.
Is it true water holds memory?
Absolutely. When we look at the research from people like Jacques Benveniste or Nobel Prize laureate Luc Montagnier, it seems that water has a matrix for holding imprints of information. And that is what is driving a whole industry of digital biology, where they're imprinting information into water, as well as the centuries old practice of homeopathy, where you imprint water with a certain herb or mineral. And it's something that is controversial, absolutely, and not funded by mainstream medical outlets. But it is something that the research has been repeated in labs across the globe. So I think it deserves more funding and attention.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's living in a way then, water.
You could say that. Yeah, you could say that it is this dynamic dance of hydrogen and oxygen, and that allows for this capacity to hold energy. I mean, it's really acting like a liquid crystal. It can capture, store, and emit this frequency information. It's incredible.
Right. You mentioned earlier liquid crystals. So are those in our body right now?
Yeah, we have our cell membranes, our DNA, and this fourth phase of water that is liquid crystalline in nature. And that sounds so bizarre when you're not familiar with it, but we actually are really familiar with it. All of our tech utilizes liquid crystal technology. And it just means when all of the molecules are aligned as a collective, and when they are stimulated by an electrical impulse, they move in a certain way. And that allows for the beautiful images we see on our smartphones, our TV screens, but we have that happening inside of us as well.
Interesting. So does the water you drink impact that at all?
Well, it does, because in order to build this liquid crystalline, this fourth phase of water, this plasma water, you have to be hydrated. That's the first building step. And that hydration, when it goes intercellularly, can build this structured water. This structured water builds against our hydrophilic surfaces, our water-loving surfaces, like our cells, our DNA, our fascia. And as it builds, it creates a negative charge, and it kicks out a positively charged proton. And so that separation of charge between that negatively charged, structured liquid crystal water and that positively charged water that forms right outside of it, that separation of charge, like a 9-volt battery, creates a living water battery inside of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're like 70% water, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a lot. A majority of our body is water.
Absolutely. And that's by weight. When you look at it molecularly, if we were to count all the molecules, because water molecules are so small, we're almost 99% water.
What?
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's crazy to think about.
It is.
Because when I look at a human, I don't think of water.
No, we certainly don't. And that explains why we're not just this bag of water, right? We have this different organization of water that takes on a more viscous gel-like texture. It's not this bulk water that we're used to drinking.
Right. So what kind of water are you drinking? I know you brought sparkling today. Is that what you normally drink?
I love drinking structured water. Yeah, and that can come from so many different areas. Natural spring water, mineralized water. I think basically if I had to make a hierarchy of the water I like to drink, first and foremost, it being clean, right? Because our municipal tap water is absolutely contaminated at this point.
Oh
So,
yeah, I just got a reverse osmosis filter, a shower filter, all that stuff.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So making sure it's clean is the top of my list. And then adding some mineralization back into the water because that's what conducts all of this energy that we're talking about.
Are there machines that do that to add stuff back in?
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to look into that.
Yeah.
Because right now because when it goes through the filter, they remove the minerals, right?
Yeah.
So you need to add it back in.
Yeah. Reverse osmosis, I mean, it removes almost everything,
What?
right?
Oh, wow.
Which is great from a contamination standpoint. You want all of those things gone.
Like the chlorine and the fluoride.
Yeah, absolutely. But when we're talking about how to drive that water into the cell and into the body, that osmosis, like we learned in primary school, that is what drives the hydration, is those minerals, those salts, those electrolytes.
Yeah, I've seen, Gary Brecka, like, drink his water with salt,
Yep.
sprinkle some salt on it. Is that something you do too?
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of salt?
I love sea salt. They're actual minerals that come from seawater that you can get that are just straight from seawater. And seawater really mimics the constitution of our blood. You know, it has a really similar mineral makeup. And so it's a great way to hydrate.
Right. Did you have Lyme disease in the past?
I did.
And you were able to heal that?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was in my second year of naturopathic medical school, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, Hashimoto thyroiditis, ulcerative colitis.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's intense.
I went for it. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, the stress of being in school was something I hadn't anticipated and didn't have the foundation to really navigate that well. So I did. I got really sick and I was in the right spot. I was in a naturopathic medical school and it was a dual school with acupuncture. I was right down the hill from a very progressive allopathic medical school. So I had all these tools at my fingertips to heal. But it actually wasn't until I discovered quantum biology that I was able to fully regain my health.
So what is quantum biology exactly?
Yeah, that's a great question. Quantum biology is a new emerging field that looks at quantum phenomenon in a living system. So quantum tunneling, coherence, entanglement. And when we apply that to health, what we're doing is we're looking at how the flow of electrons or protons, photons of light, phonons of sound, how those impact our biology. Because what we're taught in school and what happens in the doctor's office is everyone's looking at this chemical mechanical model where our health comes from a chemical balance or a chemical imbalance. And this idea of a key and lock receptor model, where we have keys floating around a cell, they find the receptor, unlock the cell, and then biological action happens. Now we know that happens, but we have trillions and trillions of cells in our body, and each one is performing hundreds of thousands of tasks
Wow.
each second.
That's crazy to think about.
So crazy. And it's absolutely mathematically impossible with that chemical mechanical model. And that's where quantum biology comes in. This beautiful language of frequency and vibration, this wave information, and how it instigates biological action.
Right. So that's where sound therapy comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that helped with your treatment, right?
Yes, sound therapy, light, and that circadian rhythm that we were talking about.
Right.
That had a huge impact, as well as coherence and the idea of some of the research out of heart math and how our heart and our brain can work coherently. And coherence just meaning two or more things working as one.
Yeah.
And when our heart and brain are in coherence, we're thinking calmly, we're thinking with our frontal lobe and rationally. Our respiration changes. I mean, it's a ripple that goes throughout our biology for better health. And I think that was really a huge turning piece for my own healing journey, is recognizing how my thoughts and emotions were impacting my body and my state of health.
I love it. The more I look into healing from these diseases, the more I realize the body's capable of doing almost all of it.
Absolutely. It's so incredible. And we often act as an obstacle to
Yeah.
that healing. We stand right in the way of it with our trains of thought, conscious and subconscious.
Yeah, because a lot of subconscious thoughts are negative.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And researchers like Bruce Lipton and others talk about how we get this subconscious train of thought that's imprinted before the age of 7. And it's often handed down by an authority figure that is disciplining us, right? Like we're
Right.
not worthy, we didn't do something right. And so that negative train of thought just runs through our brain and we don't realize it. And it starts to impact our health in some major ways.
Major. Yeah. I also think it's like an ancestral brain,
Yep.
like a survival instinct. Because back then we had to look out for so many things,
Yeah, absolutely.
but we don't got to worry about as much anymore.
No. And we're at the point where we have all these modern conveniences, modern medicine, that if we can truly embrace the incredible miracle of our body, it can do so much and really make up for the lacks that modern medicine does have.
Right. Yeah. I need to look into sound therapy.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Is it like a sound bowl? Is that the one you did?
So many. I think, sound bowls, tuning forks, but really, I think the most powerful was self generated sound. So, toning, humming, chanting vowel sounds or mudras like you would do in Qigong. That increases our oxytocin, our melatonin, which is a master antioxidant in the body. It tones our vagus nerve, which is in charge of inflammation. I mean, it has a really powerful effect from just a couple minutes of humming or toning.
Really? What is toning?
Toning is saying a sound, just one sound.
Got it.
Yeah, just keeping that sound constant. And our nasal cavities, our thoracic cavity, they act as these echo chambers, these resonant chambers that can pick up on those vibrations, and they increase nitric oxide. I mean, it's really incredible to look at the impacts of sound,
Yeah.
even just self-generated.
Who would have thought? I used to hum all the time as a kid, like songs and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to start doing that again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like people get away from humming as they get older.
Exactly. We get away from so many things that
Right.
are helpful that kids intuitively do, right?
Right.
Play in the dirt, hum.
Yeah, kids intuitively grounding. I used to ground all the time as a kid without even knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just drawn to it, right?
Right.
And it's so powerful and so easy.
So easy. But people live in these major city apartments and they don't ground for decades.
Absolutely. They don't ground for decades. They're living in boxes filled with artificial light, not living by the rhythm of the sun. They're breathing sort of artificial air that doesn't have these negative ions. I mean, we can just go down the list about how modern living really walks us away from all these things that support our health.
Yeah, that could be a big reason the lifespan's dropping too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So it's really important to get into nature then.
I think it is. Absolutely. And even in I'm staying on the strip right now, and I was able to get outside. I grounded this morning. I woke up with the sun. I was able to get negative ions from the water fountain that was going in the pool. I mean, we have so many options out there. It doesn't have to be this idyllic, you live in a cabin in the woods away from everything.
Yeah. What do you think of those grounding mats that you plug in the wall? You think those are good?
I think that can be a great option, but I think that it doesn't replace the actual earth.
Got it.
And I think with so many things, we try to replicate it in tech, but there's things we don't even know about. And there's things we do know about, right? Like the magnetic resonance of the earth is different than the electro fields of the earth.
Right.
And that isn't covered by these mats. And while it's a great option, I think that nothing replaces just some bare feet on the ground.
Love it. Any other thing you're researching right now that's interesting?
Actually, my colleague Christine Schaffner and Dr. Hemal Patel out of the UC San Diego laboratory were looking at how heart coherence, like we talked about, how deep breathing and having a feeling of love or gratitude or awe can influence mitochondrial function.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. And mitochondria are fascinating, right? They're those little organelles in our cells that are in charge of our energy production.
Mm.
And when we see dips in energy production in our mitochondria, we see symptoms and disease onset. They're really foundational for our health. And to think that something as simple as having a gratitude practice
Hmm.
or being in awe about something in the world around you can impact your energy and your overall health and disease state is pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
that is incredible. I have a gratitude journal every day for the past, I think, 4 years now.
That's such a powerful practice.
Yeah, I feel great. And breath work, there's some new studies on the Wim Hof method, how
Yeah,
it sends a bunch of blood flow to the brain and gets it going.
absolutely. It's incredible to think of all these sort of elemental practices, right? Breathing in air, coming in contact with the dirt,
Hmm.
being in water and the water within us, how all of these things have a real impact and profound impact on our state of health.
Absolutely. And then on the diet side of things, you eat seasonally and locally, right?
Absolutely, yes, for many reasons. I mean, we can just look at it from sort of a political angle and understand that supporting our local farmers is really important.
Hmm.
That supports the state of our soils, which is
Mm.
also really important. That mineralization that we talked about and vitamins and minerals in our soils are disappearing. And supporting our local organic farmers is a great way to help support that process and refeed those soils.
Right.
But at the same time, we can look at it from a different angle, more of a quantum biological angle, where every living system, from the cells in our body to the cells in the fruits and vegetables that we eat, create really low emission of photon,
Mm.
really weak light emission. And when we're eating locally and seasonally, not only is the nutrients more dense in those fruits and vegetables, but the light emission from those fruit and vegetables is bigger.
Mm.
It's more coherent. And we know that biophotons in the body have an association with inflammation. So we're sort of hitting it from a couple different angles when we eat local, seasonal fruits and vegetables.
Beautiful. I feel incredible at farmers markets,
Yeah,
like local ones. It's just the energy there.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd much rather shop there than like a Walmart or Target.
Right? Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
I
I
love
do.
it. Anything you're working on? Any books, projects, films, or anything?
Yes, I'm working on a book. I'm just going through the negotiations with the publisher.
Nice.
So hopefully that will be ready here sometime in the next year or so.
Love it. Can't wait to read that. Anything else you want to leave the audience with?
I would just love to encourage listeners and viewers out there to investigate this more. What we're talking about here are free, accessible tools for our health, and becoming more knowledgeable about them and incorporating them into our daily routine can have a huge impact on our health.
I love it. Yeah, definitely look into this, guys. We'll link your stuff below. Thanks for coming on today, Doctor. It was awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.